Good New Year, beautiful people of the earth. I hope everybody had a great New Year. I did. I was actually on vacation with my family for the New Year's. And while I was on vacation, I was watching some YouTube videos, and some of them I would really like to address. I was mainly watching YouTube videos on atheism. The first atheist that I am going to talk about is genetically modified skeptic. Let's watch a clip of his.
Right now, the dialogue between the two groups is not ideal. I've seen much worse, but it could still use a good bit of improvement. A major obstacle to any productive conversation is actually understanding the points and positions of those on the other side. Sometimes both sides neglect this crucial step, so who knows, maybe one day I'll even make a video critiquing some of the rhetoric on my side.
There are a couple of things that I agree with, there are a couple of things that I disagree with. The thing that I definitely agree with is that nobody's going to figure this out if you just have two polar extremes coming from different points of view and neither one are willing to budge. To start this debate, and I really hope that genetically modified skeptic believes in free speech as much as I do, I'm actually going to go over some words and what words actually mean, because the meaning of words do not change. The way people use them does. And if you're going to have a good debate between two intellectual people, you have to have a foundation of language that both can draw from. So the words that we will be going over today is Gnostic, Agnostic, Gnosis, and Atheist. So there will actually be a few more atheists that I will talk about. I don't know if I'm going to get to that today or in later videos. This is an open debate. It's an open challenge. I hope to have a live conversation with Drew at some point in time, and that will be up to him. Before we get started, I would like to tell Drew a little bit about myself, as I have seen what brought him to atheism and what he has published on YouTube about going through the experience of bringing that to his family and friends and so on. So, my personal beliefs in God. A, you're not going to find me arguing as a Christian. I do not believe in a particular God. I just believe in a God, a deity, a supreme deity. And I get this idea from Holy Kool-Aid's How to Convert an Atheist and How Not to, where he basically says, if you're going to try and convert an atheist, don't try to get them to believe in your God, try and get them to believe in a God, which I absolutely agree with. So that is the first thing. I am not going to come at this from any type of religious perspective, just using logic and rational thought. When I was growing up, of course, I grew up in the deep South, very Christian territory. They call it the Bible Belt. And when I was 13 years old and going for confirmation in my church, I chose not to conform. One thing is that my entire life I've never been really a conformist, but the other thing is that at that time I did not believe in God at all. I would have described myself as an atheist, but as you will see later in this video, I was probably agnostic. So I did not believe in God at all. I didn't believe that God existed. I fell to the social pressures of the church, and I thought I was going to do it, and then I chose not to, once again. And that did not change until I was almost 18 years old. And my own personal experience was I got woke up by being slapped in the face. And I literally mean being slapped in the face. Nobody was there. And when I got up to see what was going on, everything in my world swirled into a hand and slapped me in the face again. Since that moment in time, I will never, ever, ever doubt again. So that is just my own personal experience. I am not exaggerating this experience like Holy Kool-Aid talks about his experience with God. This is what actually happened to me, and there's nobody who could convince me that it wasn't real. With that in mind, let's move on to these words. Gnostic. It comes from the Greek, to know. So Gnostic means to know. And Gnostic comes from the root word of gnosis, which the way that Google defines it means knowledge of spiritual mysteries. Gnosis literally means knowledge, just like Gnostic means knowledge. So Gnosis means to know. Gnostic means to know. Agnostic means not knowing. It's agnostic, and I will get to that. I will actually have Comic Skeptic explain this because it's one of the interesting things that I like. A lot of people don't understand this. At least atheists, I haven't really heard any of them talk about it except for him. So I will allow him to explain it because I am very proud that somebody else understands this meaning. So another thing I should probably bring to Drew's attention is that I have done a lot of study in theology. After I was slapped in the face, I was told to go read and look into theology any way that I could, and I was not told to go look into the Bible, but the Bible is one source. One day I will kind of continue on what I believe the Bible does and is, but that is not today. I use the Webster's 1828 dictionary because etymologically it's the closest thing that most people are going to understand. The Supreme Court uses it when defining words in case law, and I do a lot of law and legal research and studies. The reason why I do this is one of the reasons why I believe that it's actually imperative for me to kind of make these videos about atheists, and that is, I've never met an atheist who believes there is any higher authority than the government. In my mind, government is probably the most dangerous religion on earth, and they have used religion to control people throughout a lot of history, but government in and of itself, in my mind, is a religion. I think there's a lot of evidence of this. In society today, they actually call certain people statists. Anyways, atheist is one who disbelieves the existence of a god or supreme intelligent being. So basically an atheist is somebody who denounces God. And that's pretty much the simple explanation of it. One of the reasons why I believe there's really no such thing as atheist is because of what Comic Skeptic says here. The name of this video is Why I, an Atheist, Am Afraid of Hell. And let's hear what he has to say.
So fast forward to when I finally committed myself to the label of atheism. Like I said before, at this point I am completely unconvinced of God's existence. But I was still left, no matter how strongly I decided that God's existence didn't make sense, I was still left with an instinctual fear of this eternal damnation. It's just something that doesn't go away. And usually it's nothing for me to worry about. It's just like a 5-second blip when I'm sat on a bus looking out of a window. I'm a sinner, I'm going to hell, I'm going to die and suffer for eternity, and then it's gone, because my logic and reason sort of takes over. But when it gets really bad, you know, it can sort of keep you up at night. And this is the most frustrating thing about...
My father is probably the most agnostic person I know. And he knows that he's agnostic. He has this saying that I absolutely love. He says, I know there ain't a heaven, but I pray there ain't no hell. And this goes to that exact point. Even though my father is absolutely convinced that there is no existence of God, he still thinks about it. He still wonders. He just doesn't know. And he's willing to admit that to himself. With Gnostic meaning knowledge and agnostic meaning no knowledge, without knowing, then it really breaks down like this. Atheists and religious leaders can both agree that there's no scientific method to prove God's existence. Well, there's no way to definitively say that God exists, or God does not exist. When you have a personal experience, as I did, there's no way to deny the existence of God. It's not something that you believe in. It's something that you know. You know it with every single fiber of your being. So that would be Gnostic. And anybody who doesn't know, whether they're religious or atheist, is agnostic. I don't care if you are the most devout Christian, the most devout Muslim, the most devout Jew, ever. If you're a Christian and you go to church every Sunday and Wednesday and give your tithes and, do everything that you're supposed to do. If you're a Jewish individual and you go to synagogue every Saturday to practice the Sabbath, or if you are Muslim, Islamic, and you kneel down and pray 5 times to the east every single day, that does not make you Gnostic. That just makes you a good practitioner of your faith. It doesn't mean that you know God. You can do all of those things and still not know. And you would be agnostic. These are just a few things that I think about. And real quick, let's listen to what Cosmic Skeptic has to say about atheists, because he actually gets this right. I was so proud of him.
That I realised it's all gone. I am an atheist now. I live without God. Atheist. A without theism. God.
A is actually a negative. It means without, as he said, when used in that context. But one of the things that I love to say to atheists whenever we're having a debate or an argument is just remember, you're still one theist. Believing in God. One theist. And I find that very, very interesting. The real point that I'm going to end this with is that even though atheists say they don't believe in God, God doesn't exist, there's no definitive way to prove it. Regardless, you still have a belief in God, even if that belief is the non-existence. And that's one of the things that's really, really interesting about the idea of deity, is that everybody on this planet has an idea or a belief about deity one way or another. You either believe that deity exists or you believe that deity doesn't exist. Either way, you believe in something. Because our entire reality is made up and built by our beliefs. Drew, I would love to have a conversation or a debate with you at some point in time. I'm going to post this video up on your Facebook page, and you can just message me if you wish. I don't use Facebook all that often, so it might take a couple of days to get back to you. Thank you everybody for listening, and I am Just Conspiracy. I just wish to conspire with other good people of this planet to leave a better world for future generations than the world that we all grew up in. Thank you. Bye-bye.